Hey, there we go. All right, let's do it. Let's do another comic book review. Flash Rebirth, the 2016 Volume 2 version. This is a Rebirth Deluxe Edition that reprints issues 1 through 13. So I want to break this down for you a little bit. First, let me say, never been a huge fan of Flash. Obviously, there's been different, stories or short uh, storylines over the years that are good. I've enjoyed him as part of Justice League, those kind of things, but never been a huge Flash collector. Thought I would check out something that was a little more modern as I was published in 2016. And let me say, from issues 1 to 13, what a radical difference in the quality of story and art. Now, the story is all done by Joshua Williamson. The artists change regularly throughout this run. But let me give you a couple of samples, idea of what we're talking about art. And it does set up with a little bit of the setup to the story and that kind of thing. Just want to kind of give you an idea of just this detail early on. We get such great detail with certain pages. You can see here with Flash. Look at that. Look at that. So we have Barry Allen, and one of the things for me is always a hard time is the way they handle the multiverse, and he's meaning Wally West, the reversion that I know, a redheaded Wally West, who's changed later on. And obviously, one of the things that happens early on is this sort of trouble. We had this great spread early on. Look at that. Wally on one side and Barry on the other. Right. So to give you an idea of some of the art. So the story is, Barry is trying to deal with life post Flashpoint. He's having different memory flashbacks. He's not understanding what's going on. There's Wally here. There's a lot of different confusion. He goes to see Batman, which is a great sequence, by the way. I like that a lot. And then you get into the story of him becoming Flash through different flashbacks and different sequences like that. I feel like the one thing for me that I really don't like about modern Flash, look at this is good artwork though. Now this is when his detective partner struck by lightning. And again, all my videos are spoilery, so sorry. He's going to become Godspeed at some point. It's really, really strange how they once Flash. Okay, maybe again, I didn't read a lot of Flash. Once the Speed Force was introduced and Flash become one with the Speed Force and obsessed with the Speed Force, it is kind of not able to keep my attention. Like season 1 of Flash on the CW to me was great and very comic book esque, where you had different villains and different trials, and then you had an overarching villain and setup. Thought that was done very, very well. This comic has the same problem. It seems like it's going to do that, and then at the same time, it gets obsessed with people getting struck by lightning, getting speed, getting into the Speed Force, and all of that. And so the first few issues, one, obviously, August has his skills. Barry enjoys training him. He enjoys the concept of being a mentor. There's a lot of flirtations with Iris, but she is not actually, his main squeeze or anything like that. And then, of course, you have, he's getting his powers, and he is not interested in control, right? He's driven by a lot more of vengeance with his, his brother had been killed and that kind of thing. It's motivated him during his police work. Barry, of course, is Mr. Black and White, cut and dry. It's all about justice and fairness. And then this is when you get into issue 2. Look at that. That's actually really good. I really like that. And this is, I think, the same artist. Yeah, Carmine Di Menico. I apologize, Carmine, for saying your name wrong, but his work is top notch. And early on, I enjoy a lot of it. There's a few panels with some wasted space. I really didn't like this idea. Here we're going to have this sequence. See how we have this like training room? Speed City. All these different people are fast now. They're all with the Speed Force and all that. Wasted space, nothing interesting in some of the shots. And again, all these characters I could just care less about, and I don't enjoy the concept. And the story moves along. He has an admirer, and then we get the introduction of the other Wally West, because we broke the timeline in the universe and the multiverses, so we have two. And the one that has to look like CW Wally West, which is pretty much what I feel like was contrived for all of this. And then he mentors people again. Here's some new characters come into play. Don't get too attached because none of it really matters at the end of the day, to be honest. You think it's going to matter and it doesn't. And then, of course, we get the introduction of Godspeed. Very brief. Nice cover. I think at this point, a lot of that isn't bad, but then we have this terrible slowing down of the story. We build up, we build up, we build up, then we get to the next issue and it just stops again. We're trapped in Speed City. Blah, blah, blah. Boring, boring, boring. Completely different character is the foil, and that's what you get. And you get him here. Yeah, I don't care. And then the next page, you get this bizarre, I don't quite understand what's happening sequence of things. It's just very discombobulated. It's not, again, I'm going to go soft on this one. Like, it's not a negative, it's sort of a middle. And then suddenly we change art, dramatically change art. Look at the bottom of this page, how Flash is drawn. And then we see, again, new Wally West. Look how juvenile this looks compared to the earlier panels that we were looking at. So you only get about 4 issues in before we start to see pretty mediocre. And then, of course, Mina has powers. She's a love interest. They have a getaway. It's like a girlfriend. Wally's trying to figure out his purpose in all this. They meet each other because they're trying to connect to Wally, who has powers. It kind of progresses that way until we get to the death of said Mina. And Godspeed, of course. And that's how that plays out. It's an issue called Revenge. And it was just, you know, it's okay. I understand Barry dealing with grief. I thought it was very badly dealt with. I don't quite understand why Barry's so shy about talking more transparent with this Wally, but he is. I think it's not done badly when you talk about Barry not understanding the role in all of this, like his purpose on all of this. But we do see a little bit of, like I said, Carmine has some pages and some panels that kind of get a little subpar. Where he's the strongest is when he's doing this. Look at that. See, that's not bad. It's not bad. I can live with that. That's good. That's nice. I like that. Right, there's a couple of, it's like overkill though, with like a little bit of some repetition of some of that. And you get to the big showdown, of course, and they figure out how to capture him. But then we start moving forward beyond that storyline. You get into Wally's training and how some of this is going to play out. And of course, Godspeed's trying to eliminate speedsters entirely. I think that it's not bad. This is the whole, you know, we're not going to kill thing. Not kill. Not bad. It's not bad. I don't like his facial. His face doesn't seem right. He's unshaven, so much for a secret identity. Makes no sense. If you're that fast, go shave. For love of Pete. Makes no sense. Of course, he ends up in Iron Heights, and then, you know, Wally becomes, you know, Kid Flash essentially, and you start to end up with some training sequences before you get into the next issue. We're going to get some of that, and Barry really is still dealing with the flashback, the crossover parts, and then once you get to the next section, we change issues again, and it gets really bad. And I'm really sorry. Let me apologize in advance to. Oh, I'm sorry. It must be the sequencing in a collected version like this. Look at this Wally. That is terrible. That is terrible. The editor should have set that back. No, that's not good. That's not Wally West. I have no idea who's cosplaying as Wally West. That's not Wally West. I don't know. This is the person's face that Flash is rescuing in this issue. Yeah, it's just we jumped the ship. This is Jorge Corona. Jorge George. No. And this is supposed to be Wally West. We have two Wallies converging. Kind of looks like, I don't know. Maybe I've missed some issues. Maybe he has been drawn like this before. Barry Allen is having these like mental moments, these total collapses where he's remembering pieces of the different timelines and things that are gone. So the premise of this is great, right? The execution of the art is horrible, right? So this is him having his breakdown. You can see Grodd, which looks awesome. Captain Cold, right? We're getting some different things from the past, right? But this is terrible. It's just terrible. So they blister through this. Barry's acting erratic, not making any sense, doesn't remember anything. He spills the guts about who Wally's real dad is in this universe. And then you get into like really bad comic book guy joke before the other Wally shows up to kind of mentor him. And they're buds now. And I remember what we had before. Look at the art difference here. So, I mean, obviously the normal Wally West doesn't look too bad, but our new Wally West still looks just very cheesy, and definitely cheesy compared to what we saw in earlier issues and earlier frames. And then you get like a standalone story just because we have the Shade. So this is the next episode, the next issue, and it's just the Shade. It's like, okay, we're gonna have an issue with the Shade. The Shade it's different, right? He's conflicted. He's not really meant to be evil in this episode. He's just conflicted. He's dealing with a lot of problems. He thinks he's doing well, but it's meant to set up Kid Flash on his own. So he's trying to go out on his own here, which is fine. It wasn't terrible, but he's in way over his head. And you can see this is how it concludes. Not bad cover for the next issue. Knockoff Venom approach to that. It's terrible. Okay, I shouldn't say terrible. Probably not terrible. A letdown. And then the art is really mediocre. Barry's trying to come around the idea that it needs to be more transparent. And you get these really bad frames. There's no real tension in this. Look at how cheesy that kind of looks. As it's supposed to be sort of like, but see, look, Flash immediately does not look like he's going to be hassled by this guy. Like, it doesn't seem believable to me, like, at all. Anyway, Wally shows a big crack of power, and of course they do their best to rescue everyone sucked into Shade's little darkness tower that he basically creates. So it sucks his wife in. Of course, it sucks in Iris, and it's just okay. And then, of course, the story kind of moves along a little bit, and it's all about rescuing them. David Gianfelice is the artist in the final this issue, and it's kind of a mixture. We have some good friends. I don't really have a problem with most of this. We're having a hard time about deciding how old Wally West looks. Can we decide how old he's supposed to be and get it worked out? Because then we'll do stuff like this shot. Terrible. And how old is he? Can we decide so he looks appropriately aged and his muscle tones look right and he doesn't look like he's 5'4"? I don't know. So it's okay. And then of course there's the explosions and Shaded, and then we're rescued. And then we have our final issue, which I guess is issue 13. This horrible Christmas issue. This is the main cover, and it's more about. This was the opening. This was my splash page. Really, yeah. I don't know. we're unraveling in the grand scheme of things very quickly. Barry is trying to get closer to Iris. Kid Flash is learning to stand on his own, being respectful of them and their relationship. And it concludes with their version of how Captain Cold's going to be presented. He shows up. And that's pretty much where I'll leave it. There's pictures in the back. You can get this. I don't know that any of them are something I'd be thrilled about. I know that there's a lot of hype over the GODSPEED appearance and that kind of thing. I was looking at some of the variant covers. You know, the irony is that one's not bad. I just don't care enough to say, yeah, you should get something like that. It's okay. Promise I probably like it more because it reminds me more of like Carnage than it does about a Flash thing. There's one moment where you see sort of an allusion to Flash's sacrifice from Crisis on Infinite Earth, which to me is probably the most iconic cover and influential moment for me as a non-Flash collector, because I was reading Crisis when it back in the 80s, excuse me, in early 90s. And when he sacrificed Barry Allen's death was huge for me, and really stuck with me. So I don't know, maybe you think I'm wrong. You're a Flash fan. Maybe you can recommend what I should read. Pick that up. Got a good deal on that. So thought I'd give it a shot. This hardcover's retail is at $35. So you can definitely pick that up secondhand at a much less expensive price. And I would not, it's a soft recommend. I think issues, one through the GODSPEED story is fine. Got, issues 1 through 5 or 6 or so, that's fine. The second half, not so much. And to tolerate some of that, second plot line, storyline of all the extra speedsters that we don't know or care about. You can see where some of this stuff was obviously influenced by and influenced to the CW show as it progressed, because once you got into multiple speedsters and Speed Force stuff and all that, it jumps the shark. And this is definitely along that same vein. So, all right, that's my thought on this, and I appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, all that nonsense stuff.